Hi guys, welcome to my channel and this is Boylove with Carrie.
The billionaire husband and his little wife. You're yelling at me again. Ethan Thorne, 35, was the very image of perfection in the world of the elite, wealthy, powerful, and so composed that people couldn't help but respect, even fear him. His face was strikingly handsome, his gaze deep and distant like an endless winter sky. A straight nose, thin lips always pressed into a firm line, every word that left them was sharp as ice. He was disciplined, precise, and seemed to have forged his emotions into cold logic through years of control and ambition. Liam Reed, 23, was like a single rose blooming in that frozen world. Fair skin, clear bright eyes that sparkled with mischief, long lashes that trembled every time he looked down. His smile was like sunlight in the middle of winter, warm, fleeting, yet never enough to melt the frost in Ethan's heart. One knew that Liam had loved Ethan for years, ever since he'd seen him on the cover of his father's business magazine. He began researching him, observing him from afar, fascinated by that distant, untouchable man. One line from an old interview had carved itself into his heart. "If I ever get married, everything I own will belong to her. She can spend however she wants, as long as she's happy." The sweetness of a man's promise can be intoxicating, especially when it comes from Ethan Thorne. Liam couldn't stop replaying that sentence over and over again. His beautiful face flushed with color, and his heart thumped uncontrollably every time he thought about it. Back then, Liam was still naive enough to believe that a man like Ethan would love him just as deeply. "He's perfect," Liam told himself. "Too perfect. Someone like me doesn't deserve him." Time passed quietly. 2 years slipped by like a breath. The Reed family, once drenched in luxury, had fallen into crushing debt. No matter how many assets they sold, it was never enough. And then, something Liam could never have imagined happened. Ethan Thorne came to him. He cleared all the debts, every last cent, on one condition: a contractual marriage lasting 2 years. Cold, exact, and impersonal, like the words typed on white paper, yet Liam's heart still fluttered. His dream had come true. He was Ethan Thorne's husband. The happiness was fragile, tinged with fear, but he smiled anyway, promising himself he would be the perfect spouse, loving, gentle, patient, even if Ethan's heart would never belong to him. The first morning in the grand mansion, Liam silently vowed to become a proper wife, to love him, to care for him, even if Ethan never looked back. When Ethan stood before the mirror adjusting his tie, Liam approached from behind, looping his arms around his waist and resting his cheek against his shoulder. "Ethan, can I come to work with you today?" No, his voice was cold as steel. He peeled Liam's arms off, his frown deepening. Liam pouted, his delicate face even more endearing. He leaned against the table, speaking softly, hopeful. "At least have breakfast with me." "I made it myself. I'm busy." The answer came fast, cutting, final. Ethan grabbed his briefcase and strode toward the door. Watching him leave without eating, Liam felt a pang in his chest. He quickly grabbed the pale blue lunchbox he'd packed earlier and rushed after him, catching his sleeve. "Ethan, wait, at least take this. You can eat later, when you're free." His bright eyes shimmered with expectation and a quiet plea, the kind of gentleness that only someone in love could give. Ethan hesitated. He was used to skipping breakfast. Food was irrelevant next to work. He was about to refuse again, but Liam covered his mouth with a small, pale hand. His brows furrowed adorably, and he whispered, "You're not allowed to say no to me." Ethan, the house fell silent. Only the ticking of the clock and the faint scent of food lingered, wrapping around the unspoken tension between two hearts, one cold, one burning. I spent the whole morning making it. If you refuse again, I'll just have to kiss you. It sounded like a threat, but there was no bite, only a shy, teasing warmth. Flustered, but secretly proud of his own boldness, Liam peeked up at Ethan's face and murmured sweetly, "Ethan, can I have a kiss then?" Ethan could only sigh, defeated by his new husband's stubborn charm. He took the lunchbox from Liam's hands. "All right. Thank you. I'll eat it later." But the calm tone didn't soothe Liam. If anything, it only made him more upset. He grabbed Ethan's sleeve again, frowning. "You have to kiss me. I'm your husband, remember." Ethan's brows drew tight, his voice turning cold once more. "Liam, remember your place. This is a contract marriage. I don't owe you that." He pulled his hand free and walked out, leaving Liam standing there, frozen, his beautiful face flushed, then paled. The light in his eyes dimmed. He took half a step back, the weight of Ethan's words pressing down like winter frost, and in that moment, the truth hit him. Ethan never loved him, only he was the fool in love. I'm sorry," Liam whispered. The cold sound of the door slamming echoed through the empty house, slicing through the silence and stabbing straight into Liam's heart. That night, he waited from 6 in the evening until past 11 before Ethan finally came home. His soft hair fell loosely over his shoulders, his silk pajamas clinging lightly to his frame, carrying a faint scent that made him seem fragile and heartbreakingly beautiful. He rushed over, his voice sweet and hopeful. "Ethan, you're back. I waited so we could have dinner together." Ethan only loosened his tie, sighed, and walked straight into the bathroom, exhaustion written all over him, leaving Liam standing there, smile fading, the food on the table long gone cold. Liam liked spending money with the black card Ethan had given him, not because he needed to, but because it made him feel like he mattered. "This is the money my husband gave me," he'd think. It was childish, maybe, but it was the only way he could convince himself that Ethan cared. Ironically, to Ethan, that card was proof of Liam's shallowness, of how much he enjoyed luxury, how dependent he was. One afternoon, Liam came home from shopping, arms full of colorful designer bags. The moment he saw Ethan coming down the stairs, he threw everything onto the sofa and ran toward him, wrapping his arms around him playfully. "Ethan, these bags are so heavy. Why didn't you help me carry them?" But before his small hands could even touch Ethan's shoulder, they were brushed away firmly. Ethan's eyes were tired, impatient, and lined with disappointment. "Did you really spend my money on all this useless stuff again?" Liam's heart clenched. That look, cold and judging, made his pulse stumble. He forced a smile, tilting his chin up with a fragile kind of pride. "It's your money, isn't it? What else should I do with it? Let it collect dust." But Ethan's brow furrowed, his voice turning sharp as a blade. "Do you think I print money, Liam? You've gone too far." The raised voice made Liam flinch. His lashes trembled, and his eyes shimmered with tears. You really hate me that much?" Something in Ethan's chest twisted painfully. His words had been harsh, too harsh, and now, looking at the young man in front of him, someone he was bound to only by contract, crying like that, something inside him softened, cracked. He turned away, trying to hide the flicker of guilt that crossed his expression. But Liam wasn't done. "Ethan Thorne," he hiccuped through sobs, voice breaking. "Say that again if you dare." The sound of his crying filled the room, raw, small, helpless, and Ethan's steps faltered. For a moment, anger and tenderness clashed violently inside him. Finally, with a quiet sigh, he turned back and awkwardly pulled Liam into his arms, his hand gently patting the soft hair on his head. But Liam only cried harder, the dam inside him bursting open. His voice shook with heartbreak and pride all tangled together. "You don't like me spending your money, right? Fine, fine. I won't spend a single cent ever again. You can keep all your stupid, dusty money. Are you happy now?" And with that, he shoved Ethan's arms away, running into the bedroom and slamming the door. His muffled sobs echoed through the silent mansion, leaving Ethan standing alone in the living room, fists clenched at his sides, lips pressed tight, guilt, confusion, a hollow ache. Why did it hurt, seeing him like that? Why did the anger fade so quickly, replaced by this restless pull in his chest? In that moment, Ethan realized no matter how cold he tried to be, Liam had already carved out a place in his heart. The stubborn, spoiled, luminous little thing had somehow slipped past all his defenses. Even the most disciplined heart couldn't ignore the warmth he brought, the strange mix of frustration, fondness, and longing that followed him everywhere. Later that afternoon, Liam busied himself getting ready for the gala. He stood in front of the mirror, carefully styling his soft hair, adjusting his silk shirt, studying the face reflected back at him, bright eyes, pale skin, a trace of mischief in his smile. He wanted to look perfect tonight. For him. He turned toward Ethan, eyes shining with excitement. "Ethan, which one looks better on me? You choose." Ethan didn't even glance up from the documents on his desk. His tone was calm, distant. "Anything looks good on you." Liam's eyes lit up. He took it as a compliment, beaming as he bounced over and planted a quick kiss on his cheek. "That's your reward, Mr. Thorne." Ethan blinked, startled, watching him. For a second, the world slowed. The innocence, the playfulness, the stubborn light in Liam's eyes, everything about him drew Ethan in, disarming him completely. His heart skipped, unfamiliar and unsteady. He stood there, silent, eyes following Liam's every move as the younger man turned away, cheeks flushed pink, fixing his hair at the table again, and for the first time, Ethan Thorne, cold, logical, untouchable, realized that his heart was no longer his own. But everything changed when Adrian Tan appeared. The moment he walked in, Ethan's gaze shifted subtly, but unmistakably. His smile softened, his eyes warmed, and his whole expression carried a tenderness that Liam had never seen directed at himself. Liam didn't know who Adrian was, but he could feel it, the difference. The gentle smile, the attentive tone, the warmth in Ethan's eyes, all of it was something Liam had never been given. He forced a smile, following beside him, though every step felt heavy. Unease twisted in his chest, mixing with jealousy and confusion. Why is he so gentle with him? Why does he never look at me that way? In a moment of helpless impulse, Liam tugged lightly on Ethan's sleeve, his voice trembling. "Darling, can we go home now?" Ethan frowned. His eyes stayed cold, lips pressed tight, offering no reply. Liam saw him turn instead toward Adrian, smiling faintly, soft, warm, effortlessly natural. And something inside Liam cracked. To calm himself, Liam murmured an excuse about needing some air and stepped out onto the balcony. The cool breeze brushed past him as he took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. That was when he overheard it, two guests nearby, whispering over glasses of wine. I heard Ethan Thorne and Adrian Tan used to be together for years before they split. Seems he's never really gotten over it. Yeah, they've met a few times for business lately. You can see it in their eyes. There's still something there. Liam froze. His hands trembled. The voices blurred into a dull hum as the words sank in. His heart plummeted, his breath catching painfully in his throat. So that was it. All the trust, the hope, the fragile faith he'd clung to, it shattered in an instant. He felt betrayed, foolish, left outside of a love he'd only ever imagined was his. When the gala ended, Ethan said softly, "Wait for me in the car. I have something to take care of." Liam nodded obediently and sat quietly in the passenger seat, fingers twisting in his lap. Minutes turned into half an hour. Still no sign of him. Something in his chest told him not to look, but his feet moved on their own. He stepped out, walked down the hall, and then he saw it. Adrian had leaned in toward Ethan, too close, desperate, trying to kiss him. Ethan's body stiffened. He reacted instantly, pushing Adrian away, his expression sharp and unreadable. But Liam didn't see that part. All he saw was the closeness, the intimacy of two people who once shared something real. He turned away before the truth could catch up to him. Tears blurred his vision as he stumbled out into the cold night. The city lights bled together, and the ache in his chest was unbearable. Every beat of his heart felt like breaking glass. For the first time, Liam realized how small he was in Ethan's world, how invisible love could make a person feel. He walked aimlessly through the dark, wind biting at his face, the taste of salt on his lips. Each step was heavy, hollow. Somewhere deep down, he knew, a piece of him, a piece of his world, no longer belonged to Ethan Thorne. 2 years later, their contract ended on Liam's birthday. That morning, he woke up early and filled the house with color. Bright balloons, soft music, a homemade cake, a table of little cookies shaped like hearts. Every detail carried his touch, his hope, his love, his quiet wish for Ethan to come home early. He waited. From morning until night, every vibration of his phone made his heart leap until, finally, near midnight, it buzzed again. A single message: "I'm busy. We'll celebrate another day." His hand trembled. The screen blurred through his tears. That was all it took for everything to collapse: the patience, the tenderness, the dignity he'd tried so hard to keep. He stood up quietly, walked to the trash bin, and tossed the black card Ethan had once given him. Once a symbol of affection, now just a cruel reminder, straight into the garbage. Then he took out the divorce papers he'd signed days ago. The ink was still fresh. His hand shook, but his eyes were steady. Dragging his suitcase to the door, Liam opened it, stepped out into the cold night, and didn't look back. The wind stung his face, carrying away the faint warmth of the home behind him. He didn't cry anymore. He'd run out of tears. And Ethan Thorne, he only realized the house had gone too quiet when the morning came, and the little voice that used to call, "Darling, breakfast's ready," was gone. That day, He worked late as always, convinced Liam would come back, sulking as usual. But the next morning, the villa was silent. The table was still set for 2.1 side untouched. He told himself, it's fine. The contract's over, but his chest ached with every breath. Days passed. Coming home, he'd still glance at the passenger seat, half expecting to hear, I'm home, darling, but there was only silence. The house smelled empty. Lifeless. On the third night, Ethan finally stepped into Liam's room. Everything was still as it had been, the neatly folded clothes, the books on the desk, the faint scent of his cologne clinging to the air. Ethan sank onto the edge of the bed, his hand brushing against the pillow where Liam used to sleep. The ache in his chest deepened, raw and suffocating. He reached for the nightstand drawer, the one he thought only held sleeping pills and random magazines. But inside, he found something else, a small leather-bound notebook, its edges worn soft with time. He opened it. Neat, delicate handwriting filled the pages, every word simple, honest, and heartbreakingly tender. March 7th that year, I turned on the TV tonight and saw a business show. A man in a black suit, tall, confident, with that calm, composed air that makes people listen. When he spoke about investment plans, his eyes lit up. The host asked, if you ever get married, would your wife be free to spend your money however she wants? He paused for a second, then smiled faintly. My money is hers. She can spend as much as she wants. I don't know why, but my heart skipped a beat. Ethan closed the notebook slowly, his fingers trembling. The man on that screen, it had been him. On March 10th, I started searching for your name online. Articles, photos, interviews, everything I could find, I saved. I even printed them out and kept them in a separate folder. You never knew, but in one quiet corner of my room, there's a whole drawer filled with nothing but you. August 15, the first time I saw you in person at an exhibition. I stood far away, hidden behind the crowd, only daring to look at you from a distance. I didn't move closer because I knew how different our worlds were. February 20th, 3 years later, my family was drowning in debt. Collectors came knocking at our door. I was desperate. And then you appeared. Your voice was cold, detached. Marry me. I'll pay off everything you owe. I knew it was just a deal, but at least it gave me the right to call you husband. April 12th, our first year of marriage was cold. Colder than I had imagined. I tried to get your attention by spending your money, buying designer things, leaving them where you could see. You frowned, scolded me, but somehow that made me feel safer. At least you noticed me. I never touched the money I earned from design work abroad. I only wanted to use yours, as if that would make you mine. June 18, you yelled at me for buying too many handbags. I didn't explain. I was afraid you'd laugh and call me childish if you knew the truth. You never realized every time you turned away, my heart felt like it was being crushed. You never looked at me with the warmth you gave others, and that coldness, it terrified me, yet made me crave your closeness even more. September 7, you met your childhood sweetheart today. You smiled at him softly, tenderly, in a way I'd never seen before. Everything inside me froze. Jealousy clawed at my chest. I wanted to scream, to pull you back, but I just stood there, trembling in silence. You only said, your voice cold and tired, can you stop being so childish? Tears burned down my cheeks right in front of you, but you didn't wipe them away. Not one comforting word, not one touch. I finally understood. Your heart was never mine. October 25, every time we went out together, people looked at me like I was a gold digger, someone clinging to you for money and status. But I still held my head high, still held your arm tight. Because even if you never admitted it, in my heart, I was your wife. And I refused to bow to anyone. February 28th, our second year tomorrow, is my birthday. You promised to come home early. I've prepared everything, the balloons, the cake I baked myself, and your favorite bottle of wine. But I know you'll forget. I've left the divorce papers on the table. 2 years enough. I'm tired, but I still love you. And this is the end of the video podcast Boylove today.
Don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much for watching.